Hello again. So we go on with introduction of this current ML course AI session. And here's the new link. So the latest message in the ML course AI news channel is the link to the current video. And we can go on with discussions under this thread. So yeah, the previous one, so the previous video was supposed to be in general more about career, so it was less tailored to mlcourse.ai. So just in general recommendations how to jump into data science. That's why we have this new video. The link will actually be private, so it will be accessible here. And now we're going to discuss different questions that you asked, and of course, final rating update. Before, I would like to say that we mentioned ODS.ai and all the different channels that you can see here. So you can actually sort of convert yourself into a full ODS.ai member. If we go to ODS.ai, here we have join Slack. So you'll have to fill in some simple form describing who you are, what you typically do. How did you know about the community? You can type here mlcourse.ai. You can introduce yourself, but the key thing here is to use a different email address. So yeah, unfortunately, Slack does not provide all the opportunities to convert you all automatically. So now you have access to only 3 channels about mlcourse.ai. So here you'll need a different email address, and then you will be able to invite you as full member, and then you'll have the access to this career channel with all these discussions about yeah about career interviews and everything that we discussed in the previous talk. Yeah, like something like, well, some mostly in Russian, but don't hesitate to discuss it in English. So here, let's say we discuss the guy a case during an interview, so related to these algorithms, like an interviewer is asking how do you efficiently sort a list of values. Then I would say sort. The interviewer would say no, I mean, so probably implementing it on your own. I've spoken. So that's what we discussed, right? So why the heck would you implement sorting during a real interview? So yeah, so here in the career channel, we discuss all these matters. And I've provided my view, but of course there are guys who are more experienced in certain subdomains, like all the different ways data and analytics are organized in the company. So we can find really fruitful discussions here in this channel. So I think it will be all fine with the previous streaming. So probably the quality will be settled once YouTube pre-processes all of the stuff. But still, maybe some one of you can confirm that it's all fine with the translation. So under this thread, and so we can go on discussing on the go here. So let's wait for it a bit. And in the meantime, of course, the final rating, which will appear right now. Not like that. So I'll be just updating it on the go. And there it is. Okay, so huge congrats to Dmitry Sermagin, Sergei Gruchishkin, Vladimir Kuleshov, and others. So you did fascinating job, and actually all of you. So top 100 is highlighted with green, so special congrats. But I believe not only these 100 guys actually gained something from mlcourse.ai. Yes, unfortunately there is some threshold here, so it's more philosophical question that we cannot provide a distribution of winners, so we need to put a threshold somewhere. So of course all these guys with 103 credits but not 104 also did a cool job, but on mlcourse.ai page we'll post these top 100 performers. I will actually contact all of you so that you can actually fill in some simple form to link to your personal accounts, GitHub, LinkedIn, so anything. So I will contact you, but doing this matching is not always 100% smooth. Like, yes, we are not going to leave entries like just Stepan and just the first name. So you you can all so top 100. So guys from this green top, you can just ping me. So write me a direct question, something like just ping, or preferably your position in the rating. So anyway, I'm going to contact all of you to fill in the form with your contacts, but actually just modifying some Google Doc to link to your accounts. Okay, so big congrats. So that was a really tough way to go through, and I hope you really gained a lot. Yeah, all good. Okay, we're good. Yeah, fine. Okay, so this will be published soon. And now let's go on with a follow-up discussion on all these career talks. So we had this, again, nice, cute cat. And there in this thread, we had all these questions from you. And I actually did some data labeling. So marking with the YouTube sign, something that I was going to cover during the previous live YouTube session. And yes, we've got some nice questions here. I think now I will only start this discussion, so I will provide my view on some of the questions, but we can actually go on discussing other things. And especially in the career channel, so we can move some of discussions there. So from all of these nice questions, I've selected 7 of them to discuss right now. And so we can go through. So the first one was a transition from one ML domain to another one. So the question is like, if I professionally work on tabular data mostly and want to switch to computer vision or from computer vision into self-driving cars, how difficult is it? Is it to cross these kinds of borders? Okay, so I would say that during your real projects, you can pick up new ones and you can make this transition smoothly. So just if you see opportunity joining computer vision project at your own work, or let's say NLP, then it's definitely a way to go. So you don't lose salary. You actually work in the same company, and still you can slightly drift towards new projects. That's a preferred way. If it's not an option, so if in your current job you are not doing data science or you are mostly developing something, and you don't see opportunity to apply computer vision, NLP, or what you would like to focus on, like time series, then a simple answer is Kaggle. So I already recommend it a lot. So you can actually dive into CV or NLP competitions and learn a lot on Kaggle. Still, the preferred way is to do it on your main job. But yeah, on Kaggle. So I personally focused on NLP, and we all have this imposter syndrome. I also have it, of course. So I'm not yet Kaggle master, but I made a goal for myself to hunt this master title only in NLP competitions. So I already learned a lot about NLP. So it's my transition into NLP domain through Kaggle. So if you take a look at my page, it's the top silver for now. Silver medals are in NLP competitions. So this gender non-resolution, jigsaw unintended bias in toxicity classification, Quora insincere questions classification. I think I would really recommend you, so again, relating to the previous talk, I would recommend you to resist this gamification part, so don't participate in all of the competitions. So focus on something that's really practical for you. So for me, it's NLP, and the new competition is TensorFlow question answering. Yeah, so currently I'm on the second place. It's far too early to make any conclusions, but at least I'm on my way to this master title in NLP competitions. And I would recommend to do the same. Focus on some competitions where you can learn. You can learn a lot from discussions and kernels. And don't waste your efforts on many competitions. Well, okay, so in my case, it's one more, this NFL. which I just dropped. I'm not interested in it anymore. I just scratched the surface, but still, I'm actually diving into NLP competitions. So I think it's a nice way. So maybe it's not only Kaggle, maybe it would be competitions on other platforms. But still, it's a nice way to actually make a transition into another field. So currently at my job, I'm doing NLP tasks, but yeah, for my future, I also plan something more deep learning related. So to focus specifically on deep learning in NLP. Yeah, so actually, this is in general a nice discussion, and I think I won't be able to track your comments that you're adding right now. So I'll just go through the previous questions that we had, and then we'll have a follow-up discussion in the same thread or in a new one. Okay, so the question about transitioning into data science, so getting junior data science position after mlcourse AI, I think I've covered it full enough in a separate video. So one more question. So I feel that in my 37, my brain works vastly slower than 15 years ago. Is it possible to become a successful data scientist in almost 40? Or I just have to say to myself, it was a nice journey, but permanent 40 plus years, all the junior, is not the best destiny in your life? That's a good question. Yeah, so to answer specifically this part, so is it possible? Yeah, so is it possible? Yes, for sure it is possible. So my current senior is 50 years old, and I've already seen a follow-up discussion. Yes, indeed. So you need to practice. So brain works. I agree that brain works like muscles. So you need to practice. It's good that you covered this mlcourse.ai. So for sure you are on the right way. So go on learning, and well, I cannot fully answer this because yes, I am 29, so probably I'm not experiencing the same problems. And still, I would say prefer this smooth transition from your current projects at your job. So if you have opportunity in your company, so pick up relevant projects. If not, then indeed maybe you need to switch jobs. And yes, it's I would say that if you have time, work on a pet project to show something. Or so it actually relates to the previous question of transitioning into a new field. So I was asked it many times actually. So yes, I've got family, children, a job. I don't have a lot of time. So how do I transition into the field? I know some examples where people sacrificed half of the salary just to enter data science. I know, yeah, it's challenging. It requires some financial how's it called? Yeah, so safety pillow, or it's too literal translation. Okay, so it requires some savings, financial savings, and I know I don't think I'll be able to do the same. At least I'm really bad at financial planning. So to answer your question, I would say try to make a smooth transition. So picking up projects, and of course it's possible. So for sure, there's a lot to do in data science, and yeah, my current senior is a good example. He's been doing business analytics, and then he transitioned into data science within a company. Within the same company, he transitioned just in some maybe several months. So it was just only about picking new responsibilities, doing new projects, but actually staying in the same company. Okay. Interview preparation tips. Yeah, something that I didn't cover in the previous video is so as for interview tips. So first of all, your CV. Yeah. So there were somewhere in ODS they shared Kaggle. No, sorry, Google interview preparation tips, and I think it was mostly about CV. Yeah. So how would you organize your CV? There were some really nice advices. So the main advice is that you actually reflect what you did. So if your project provided some revenue, just underline it in your CV. So it shall be really simple. Yeah. If you developed something, you say developed. If you made an impact on a different team, if it led to some revenue, just underline it in your CV. And I would say study your own CV. So you need to be, at least before an interview, you need to be really confident about your projects, what you did. So if I just randomly pick one of your projects, you need to describe it really well. Otherwise, if you cannot really convey what you did in a certain project, then it doesn't leave a really good impression. Like you are not really confident about your past, what you actually did, and try to formulate what you actually learned in different projects. So try to summarize what's your best experience in that project. So apart from, again, practicing interviews, yes, one more thing is to actually challenge the company so your would-be company to join. For that, so to have a really good choice and to end up in a good company, it's of course preferable that you interview into several companies at the same time. Thus, you can make a decent choice. You can select, and thus you can actually challenge the team, the interviewers that you are talking to. So yeah, it also relates to one of the next questions. So how not to choose a bad team. So what questions to ask. So you can definitely ask one simple question. So what's the most profitable project that you are currently running? So if your interviewer fails to describe the most profitable project, then it's sort of a red flag. Yep. So maybe they are only building proof of concepts. Yep. Not actual production systems. So just a simple question: what's the most profitable project that you are doing? In my current team, we have a couple of I would say projects of high impact, but mostly it's closer to research. So we are doing proof of concepts and then try to collaborate with other teams, with developers, to actually build products on top of that. But it's mostly about looking for new opportunities and creating proof of concept. So I would say during an interview with us, for instance, a candidate can ask, so how many profitable projects do you have? And thus he can actually figure it out, whether it's severe production or it's closer to research, or you can actually understand a lot from such a simple question. Then, of course, what technologies the company is using. So you can clarify the way you work with the way the company actually works with GitHub, how they use Kubernetes, in what projects they actually use these architectures. It's really crucial to understand. You need to, I don't have really 100% recipes how you actually define all these red flags. So it's also a good topic. I'm sure it was discussed somewhere in the career channel. But there are some ways to actually understand that, data governance sucks actually in the company, or they work with Excel, or I would say even MATLAB would be a red flag. And so you try to understand. So during these talks, you try to understand what technology they're using, and just don't hesitate to challenge the candidate. So the company that you are talking to, the interviewers. Yeah, it's not only them choosing you; it's also you choosing the company. And again, here somewhere we had a very cool. I would say it's a story. So it's a story of a guy who interviewed with several companies at the same time. So there was also one question about negotiations. I don't think I can share tips in this part. So I'm just honestly answering to things where which I'm confident about. But negotiation can be a really important thing. So the story was about a guy. Well, of course he's a cool guy. So he did a PhD in ML. So he was looking for a research position in companies like Google, DeepMind, then Facebook Fair, and something like that. But he managed to actually have a really good choice, and he achieved the state when actually recruiters struggled to get him. So it was not him actually choosing a company. The company were actually fighting for him. Well, I perfectly understand that it's not a general advice to go for that, but it's only an indication that you can also choose an employer, and that's why you need to formulate a lot of questions to them. So don't hesitate. And it's definitely not the right strategy to just stick to one company and put everything on that. Okay, so some other questions. Yeah, what would be your advice on mastering math? So yeah, I answered that in previous questions, and two more questions. Yeah, so sorry, I'm not going to answer such questions. I don't pretend to be expert in the field that I'm not expert in. So data science and bioinformatics or signal processing and deep learning. No, sorry, I would not comment on that. So just explore state of the art in this domain. Take a course on data science and bioinformatics, or just watch through some lectures, and you'll get the idea. So then, yeah, some personal story. I think it also relates to yeah, to switching and finding a new job. Yeah, some technical questions like anomaly detection or something related to ML. It's not the topic for this discussion, but anyway, I'll try to answer later. Same for SVM, which is not covered in the lectures. Yeah, that's a nice question about shakeup. So why some of the teams overfitted on private and another were well fitted? How would you know that you overfit, and how do you end up with a stable solution? So in general, the question is about shakeup on Kaggle, and there is a nice follow-up discussion that sometimes shakeup is just there in the data, so you cannot avoid it. So some competitions were organized in a way that there was a huge shakeup, like Microsoft malware prediction, but then indeed that's an indication that maybe it was just a complex task. So the test set distribution differed pretty much from the training set distribution. And then, well, sometimes nothing can be done about that. Of course, there are different hacks. Here, I would recommend Chai Time Data Science, the discussion with CPMP. So if you go to Chai Time Data Science, they've got different platforms. So one of them is encore.fm. But I think they also have a separate site, Chai Time Data Science. It's actually an ODS.ai member as well. So here you've got all the different talks, so conveyed by Sanyam Bhutani, and one of them is the latest one. Let me see. Okay, somewhere here you'll find a talk with CPMP, very experienced Kagler, and he discusses all the tips with setting up cross-validation and setting up a collaboration in a team. I find it really useful. And I actually planned a guest lecture with, well, I'm not announcing it right now, but I would say that, well, in different competitions you are setting up different cross-validation schemes, and I'm not there yet to describe all of them, so I don't have enough experience for that. And I planned a guest lecture with some of top Kaglers to actually describe all the different schemes in tabular data competitions, in time series competitions, CV, NLP. I can describe something, but still I think the better overview will be done by somebody like CPMP or other guys whom I'm not announcing yet. So probably we'll indeed shoot this lecture later. And of course, this Coursera course, How to Win a Data Science Competition. So it's created by experienced Kaglers, so mostly masters and grandmasters, and they discuss a lot of hacks and techniques to set up validation, to actually make this cross-validation score correlate with public leaderboard score, and so on. Okay. Yeah, so this popular picture about from Hello World to artificial intelligence. skipping algorithms, data structures. Yeah, I think we've covered it in the previous talk. And now, yeah, let me skip through some of the questions. Okay, yeah, so that was the last session of mlcourse.ai. There was a big discussion on the future of the course. Well, honestly, so far, I haven't come to a conclusion. So yeah, of course, I can build on top of what's done. So if the course goes on, then it definitely will be for some fee, like €100 in the beginning. And I've just it's also about my personal development and how much I can share. Now after 3 years, I think we've done enough. So there's around 12,000 people started the course. So some 1,500 successfully finished. So I think it's already a nice impact. And I would go on. Yeah, of course, it's also about motivation. So if I go on with the course, I will try to earn, of course, something with it. Still, honestly, I'm not sure whether I'll go on because it requires a lot of time investment, and yeah, you've got this opportunity cost. Yeah, so I can spend this time on something else. So if I really put a goal to end up in the Google Brain team, I'm not sure about it yet as well. Maybe it's too challenging, but at least I can estimate whether I can have some goal or yeah, some other cool company where I can do deep learning and NLP. Okay, so of course it's a lot of time, and so yeah, so going on with mlcourse.ai would be a very huge opportunity cost with respect to time investment. So anyway, if there are some news, I think there will be not earlier than next summer, so summer 2020. If the course goes on, then it will be announced around summer 2020, but we'll see. Okay, so then there were some more questions. Yeah, I also wanted to discuss data scientist career abroad. So there was this first question. Any hints on how to get a data scientist job abroad your motherland? Yeah, so here again, social networks. So actually, I ended up in a company abroad without any links, but still, I made more attempts, and in different companies, I was referred to. Yeah, so I asked some people actually from here, from ODS, to refer me. I didn't end up in that company because I had choice. So I chose another company, and well, the main resource here is Glassdoor. So on Glassdoor, you can find descriptions of different companies, interview questions, salaries, so anonymized statistics on salaries. So Glassdoor is actually the main resource to look for a job abroad. So yeah, this one. So we can find something like data science, location UK, or maybe specifically London, let's say. And then there you go. Hundreds and maybe thousands of positions. And then you need to carefully choose based on reviews, based on some real stories. It's good. Still, it's good to have some friend in one of the companies. Maybe not friend, but the guy who you know and who can refer you. That would be a shortcut to the company for sure. Well, in the end, I ended up without referral, but still, I would say, yeah, go on socializing and explore Glassdoor if you need a job somewhere abroad. Yeah, other questions are more technical. I will skip them for now. Again, I'm not going to answer questions where I'm not an expert, like the most perspective ML niche without neural nets. It's a very, very general question, and I think I'm not the right person to speculate on that. Well, same goes for the most perspective deep learning niche. Yeah, so yeah, my personal life. Okay, well, maybe I will answer that, but not in this video. Yeah, so I can make a short description of how it's going on in Holland, what's there in Netherlands, what are career opportunities in Netherlands. I actually wrote a big post on that in Russian. Yeah, maybe some of the parts can be also described here in the same thread. Okay, then there was a guy with 10 questions. I actually picked a couple from them. I think I already addressed resume tips, preparation for interviews, and so on. I'm not an expert in negotiation. Yeah, the way I negotiate with my current company was pretty simple. I actually had the choice. That's why I just settled that that's my price. Uh, they were not first really comfortable with that, but then I got what I wanted. I don't think it's the right way to negotiate. At least I've heard about the golden rule that you don't claim your expectations first. First, you wait for the company to offer you. Yeah, so first of all, you offer your time. Yeah, you sell yourself. So you already have a lot to offer. Come on, it's your time. Yeah, it's your life. Some 40 hours per week. It's your life. And you first of all you offer that, and you offer these by applying for this position. So then you need to wait for a company to offer you something. That's why it's called compensation. Yeah, for compensation for your time. So that's why you wait for their proposal. But I will not go further with that because I'm not experienced in that negotiations. So that's something for me to catch up as well. So why would I tell you some stories which I haven't practiced, where I don't have enough experience? At least I've heard about this golden rule. And yes, for sure, I again will relate to this story about the guy who made other companies struggle for him. So he did really nice negotiation. So that's indeed something, yeah, to pay attention to. Yeah, then we addressed this question of how to indicate a bad team and not to join. Yeah, I think it's one more topic for a long discussion, and you'll find much more ideas on what questions to ask to actually avoid ending up in an immature team. That's why for first position, so the main principle is actually to end up in a company where you can learn from your colleagues. Yeah, so that's for sure will be the case if you are okay. If you are applying for a junior data science position, still you need to see that there are experienced data scientists in your team. Otherwise, you can end up in a team where you're the only data scientist. You're not experienced yet. You don't have production experience. You have never deployed a model, and then you can end up working with analysts, business guys, all these consultants, and then you don't have to learn. You have nobody to learn from. You need to end up. You don't need to end up in such situations. So, yeah, I think Andrew Ardgore also described his first job experience like that. And then if you see, so you can actually understand this while talking to your interviewer. So I would say the most crucial part is not to end up being the only data scientist. It can also happen in a startup, yeah, when there are just a couple of data scientists and they are doing all the different things. So of course it's hard to generalize here, but probably startup is not a good company to start as a junior data scientist. Okay, and then the final topic that I wanted to cover is yeah, these two questions, they relate to each other. So it's again about Kaggle. So whether Kaggle experience is appreciated in Europe and how much it's different from real world, from real production systems. So first of all, Kaggle is indeed appreciated. So yeah, I think my current colleagues also paid attention to my GitHub and to Kaggle. Of course, it depends on your achievements there. So if you have golden and silver medals, it's fine. So you can show it in your CV. You can talk. You can actually summarize what you learned from the project. That's good. And there are a lot of discussions about that in ODS. So I know yeah, one guy who interviewed with a bunch of cool companies in London, and they were really excited about his Kaggle experience. So it's a holy war. There's another view that, well, we wouldn't prefer to have a Kaggler because he's going to waste time on Kaggle instead of real tasks. Yeah, there's a lot of truth here as well. But in general, there's still a lot of attention to Kaggle activity. And so if you can end up with a bunch of golden and silver medals, then for sure that will help. Of course, that's not the most important things. So we all discussed all the previous steps in that video and how to jump into data science, but Kaggle can be one of the parts, yeah. So now what's the difference between Kaggle and production system? So it's, I actually thought about shooting a video precisely on that topic. I prefer to shoot it when I'm actually a Kaggle master. Yeah, so I've made this goal to achieve this Kaggle master title in an NLP competition, so specifically in NLP. Well, so probably I'll do this lecture later. But in it, there's a huge difference between Kaggle and real life. So still, I learned a lot on Kaggle. It helps me in my real projects, like all these hacks, like adversarial validation. So how you compare train test distribution. So how you compare train and test set distributions. A simple thing that you can do, you can mark all the training instances with ones, all the test instances with zeros, and then you perform cross-validation. And this classification that you're actually doing is distinguishing train and test, distinguishing train from test set. Of course, you expect something close to 0. So if you measure AUC, it shall be around 50%. And if actually you see some difference, you can analyze what features actually contribute to this difference. So you can see features which actually change from train to test. And such hacks are actually very important. So I use them a lot. So a common question is, so you've trained your model, you performed cross-validation, then you deploy it, and then you've got new test data, and your model starts degrading. So you can actually measure these with such techniques like adversarial validation. So you can actually understand what features make this difference. And then you can also end up with just a holdout validation. If you apply the same trick, so you performed adversarial validation, and now you've got a vector of predicted probabilities, whether the model thinks that it's train set or test set. So if we marked train instances with ones, then the higher the probability, the more, I would say, the more model would think that it's a training instance. And from your test set, you can actually construct this vector of predicted probabilities of the instance being actually a train instance. So you can actually select a subset of instances which mostly resemble your training set. Sorry, that's about validation. Yeah, so you take your validation, so your labeled set, and you can actually select instances which mostly resemble your test set. And then you believe that this holdout set will, so it resembles the test set, and then you would believe that it's a meaningful holdout split to actually construct. Okay, so maybe this explanation was just a bit hasty, but that's the idea that you actually learn all these hacks from Kaggle. Yeah. As for NLP or pre-processing, so I learned a lot of tricks. So I also use them in my real job. So like if you apply embeddings, so if you've got pre-trained embeddings like glove or fast text, then you really need to adjust your processing for these embeddings. You can actually measure to what extent this vocabulary, so mapping words to vectors, to what extent this vocabulary actually covers your text. You can measure that your text is 90% covered by this vocabulary, or otherwise, maybe you see that only 30% of your text are actually covered with this vocabulary. So then you would need to adjust your pre-processing so that your words in your text actually are found in this dictionary, mapping words to vectors. Otherwise, you just ignore too many information in your text, and then thus your embeddings will not be meaningful a lot. So this is also a hack that I learned from Kaggle. So as for learning, for sure, but as for production, No, of course, production is quite different. And here, yeah, I can again relate to all the DevOps things that you can learn. But the best place to learn all of this is, of course, your current job. So I'm also learning a lot about model deployment and maintaining production systems. So this L1 support, where something happens, how you handle this incident, how you actually design your tests to and alerting. Yeah, so when your model fails on some input, how you make sure that you didn't miss that, and so on. So there is a huge difference, and the best place to learn about production is production itself. So it's your job. As for Jeremy Horvath's advice, train more models. I think I've heard that. I think it's a bit out of context here. So uh, I'm almost sure that it's a wise advice to give. But of course, yeah, it looks like it's out of context here. So just training more models will not help on its own. So Kaggle is all about training models. So that's for sure. The same advice holds for Kaggle. So actually Kaggling, you just yeah, you are training more and more models. You're working on features and so on. But of course, it doesn't relate very much to production systems. So production systems are not only about training; they are also about all of the other things. I wish I were able to start a new course actually on production systems in ML, but it's definitely not the case. I don't have enough experience. I'm learning a lot on my own, but I've seen some activities here on here in ODS. So one of the guys is actually planning a course on development and production systems. It's in Higher School of Economics. It's in Russian. At least Russian audience can keep track of this course and probably join or help in development. And yeah, I've seen some courses start to appear about deploying models to production. I've seen something like deep learning to production or something like that. So probably somebody can share, or I will find it. But indeed, it's a right question to ask, and I'm experiencing an increased demand from data scientists. Yeah, so now data scientists also need to understand how production works, and it's I think in general it was not the case some 2 years ago. So the whole domain is maturing. So now there are more demand from business to data science. Because if I were a businessman, so if I started as let's say a company and had some analytic department, I would be really pissed off with all these data scientists. They require a lot of resources. They want high salaries. It's a hype, so you need to maintain salaries at the market level. And then you need to understand a lot. As a businessman, you need to learn a lot how to work with data scientists, how to actually use what they do in the right way, how you don't end up competing with Google or running some deep learning projects which demanding too much resources but don't provide enough profit and so on. So now I think the field is a bit it's a bit hot. So many companies I guess have data science but haven't developed yet good practices to work with data science. That's why the field is now in the process of getting more mature, and demands towards data scientists also grow. So at least if you have background in software engineering, that's perfectly a very nice it's a perfect background for data science and maybe for ML engineering specifically. But in general, you will need to learn how to deploy models. Unless you are a pure analyst, but I think we're discussing specifically data science here. So yes, again, pet projects. So you can learn a lot doing pet projects, and then again, if you can find related projects in your current job, that's the best way to transition. Fine, I think we'll stop here. So probably we are having some follow-up questions, but we can go on discussing that in this specific thread. Let me take a look. Maybe there are some more discussions here. Okay. Yep. So we're actually done with the course. So I will contact this green top 100. I will publish, of course, the final rating and some final words, of course. And that was it. Yeah, I think I really liked the questions. And yeah, no problem. Let's go on discussing. And join ODS so that you're a full member, and then you can go on with discussions in the specially designed channels. So career. Here you see this class CS231N, and we start on December the 2nd. And all the relevant questions. So deep learning. The best one uh, in my view, is this theory and practice. One sec, where is it? Why don't I see? Ah, sorry, here it is. Okay, so theory and practice is just anything related to your current job that you're doing. Like if you have questions on A/B tests or how to conduct experiments, or let's say interleaving, or there is a question on some statistical criterion. You see, mostly it's in Russian. No problem if you ask a question in English, still somebody would respond. Okay, so the final call to action is to become the actual full ODS AI member. Be active. I think I also promised to describe some cool stories about ODS.ai, about mlcourse.ai alumni. Uh, I thought better about it. I will not highlight anybody in particular. So, well, you might introduce this winner bias here. Yeah. So picking up only successful stories is not probably a right thing to do. I will only say that yeah, a couple of folks actually did mlcourse.ai successfully, and then they eventually they found jobs in computer vision, in time series. So it's really a very solid background. So if you successfully covered mlcourse.ai, it's already good. If you are not there in data science yet, so there's still a long path to go. I don't claim that you'll be data scientist just tomorrow and so on. And if you're already working as a data scientist, then there are some nice examples how you can transition into other fields like computer vision. Yeah, so of course there are some outstanding representatives like Art Gore, let's say, who is currently top one in Kaggle kernels, so and Kaggle master as well. So he did already a lot, and he's running other activities. Or special thanks to Valentina Birukova, who helped you being a TA, and she has successfully done this transition to computer vision, and she was also a lecturer, so she was giving lectures in Russian in Mail.ru group, along with Artem Hopkin and well, maybe I don't remember everybody from top of my mind. So Vladimir Semenov. So Vladimir is also a nice example. So finished third in one, or maybe second in one of the sessions. And now he's also attacking a very cool task of so in computer vision, so anti-spoofing. So this system which detects your face, then you can fool it, just putting on a mask or something else, or like making makeup. Then a company, so designers of such detection algorithms would struggle to actually do anti-spoofing. They will try not to allow you to fool their systems. So I think I will write down all the thanks to other guys as well, and that will do for now. Yep, so you've done great job. So I understand that it was a tough way, and congratulations. So yeah, we'll do a small write-up, so summarizing all of that. Yeah, good luck. Well done.